Anthony Richardson. All right.
Go.
Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Trade Show with special guest Matt English in the house. We're going to get right rolling with some trades, and we're going to start off with one of Matt's boys, Anthony Richardson. That's right. We had him going for a middling 26 first here to the Fantasy Reaper. This is a 12-team Superflex tight end premium best ball format, and Fantasy Reaper was looking for a quarterback to add to his room here. Frosty's was looking to get out of the Anthony Richardson ordeal, and so he wanted off that train. Reaper was more than happy to take him aboard for a middling 26 first. Now, this one could improve, or it could get worse if the Reaper performs well this year, which he has a squad that could contend. And so, I don't know. I'm kind of liking this one. Matt, what are you thinking about this deal?
Well, I love me some AR-15, or I guess AR-5 now. But this is a deal I feel that both parties involved win. How about that? If Reaper's team is got his quarterbacks set and he's in a contention mode, this is a nice insurance policy. If Anthony Richardson does end up popping in year 3, it could end up being a league winner for him if he does, right? But if not, you're giving up what you called a middling first round pick next year. So he has to wait a full year before he gives up his asset. It's worth the gamble, I think. I think this is a win-win. And if you're Frosty, I mean, you've got a 26 first now that you can bank on next year, and you get rid of a piece that you're plugging into your lineup every single week and you're losing because of it. Or maybe it's not getting you where you need to be, or whatever it may be. I think this is a win-win trade. I don't see a lot of these, but this is an instance where I think I'd have to see Reaper's roster here. But if he's got 2-3 quarterbacks in a super flex and he's taking on AR, got a bunch of let's say draft picks to just throw around, especially in 2026, then that's probably a good spot for him too. So let's take a look here at that roster.
So I was incorrect. This is a 10-team start. 10. So it's a more shallower league. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. 10 teams start 10 league. And context, I know that Frosty's is in a big rebuild in this league. He's been accumulating draft picks. Last year.
Looks like we're only starting. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, there's 2 quarterbacks. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a start 10. But so you're only starting 100 players total weekly. Right.
So, if you don't mind, scroll down so I can see the rest of his roster. I see AR, Geno Smith.
He had Cousins, so he needed a quarterback, and he didn't want to draft. He didn't want to rely on a quarterback out of this year's class, is what it ultimately came down to.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go ahead and tell you, he's got Cousins who's going to start somewhere next year. It may not be Atlanta, but he will start somewhere next year. I'm going to tell you that. He'll get traded.
Yes, very likely, yes.
And he's got Geno Smith, and he's also, it looks like he's got Sam Howell there as well, so he's protected in Seattle. That's not a bad move. You don't want to draft a quarterback this year. I get it. It's not a deep class. Take someone who's got 2 years experience, give up a middle first next year. It's not bad. It's not a bad move. He does have T-Law hanging. He does have T-Law hanging out on his IR as well. Yeah, he's in great quarterback shape.
Yeah, he's more than covered.
What's his draft picks look like? Bring that all down.
He's got nothing this year. He's got a 4th rounder.
No, I'm talking about 26.
So 26 now, he's at second, 2/3, and 2/4, and then all his 27s.
Well, he's quarterback strong from the rest of his team. Good, decent taxi with Estime there. He's got Joku, Ayuk. Still got some good trade pieces down there. You don't mind scrolling.
He's got enough pieces to get a first back next year if he wants.
That's a good deal for the Reaper. I like the deal for the Reaper, bringing on Anthony Richardson. And if Frosty's trying to rebuild.
Now, if we're going over to Frosty's, I can show you him real quick. He's sitting on his boy Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Higgins, Brian Thomas, Adunze. So he's building up through his wide receivers in this rebuild. And not a whole lot of action going on down here. He does have McCarthy.
Good.
So he's
and Bo Nix. I like that. He's got Bo Nix. Wow, he had Bo Nix.
And McConkey.
He's got McConkey, Pearsall. He's fine. This is a totally great deal for both teams.
He's sitting on the 103, 105, and 109 this year. 203, 206. So he's loaded up. And now he's sitting on, look at that, 4 firsts and 26.
Wow. Now, look,
yes.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know how he stacked himself up like this for this year.
Well, he traded the 101 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this was a great move. I didn't like it initially, but this is a great move. It's worked out for him. Mm-hmm. He traded the 101 last year for I'm trying to think. The picks that ended up, he got McConkey and Bo Nix out of it and a future first as well. So that helped him move back in a very deep class last year that we had, and accumulate future firsts, which are now looking awesome in the bank here that he's got.
No, that's great. Look at all those picks, because this is a team. I look at his taxi squad, I look at his bench, and I look at his starting position here. Based on how he drafts this year and the deals he makes, this is a team that actually could compete next year.
Right.
He's got tons of draft capital, and most importantly, he's got 6 first-round picks over the next 2 years.
7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7. And what, 3 seconds? So he's got 10 picks that are instantly high trade assets. Plus, he's got the young players. This is a guy that could compete next year, dude.
Oh, yeah. He's not only going to compete. This is exactly what you do. This is exactly what you do if you want to just dominate your league. Like, this is the kind of way you build it up. So you put, by kicking the can down the road 1 extra year, like with all the picks, he had 3 or 4 firsts last year. With all those firsts, he could have tried to build something where he would have tried to compete or be like a middling team last season. But instead of doing that, he went ahead and kicked the can another year. So he went for the 101 in 2 years in a row, basically. He ended up with the 103 because he had some talent. So he wasn't able to tank enough to get the 101 this year, but still the 103 is a solid pick this year. And yeah, by doing so, by kicking the can 1 extra year, he's really putting himself in shape to build a monster. Because with the other competing teams getting older, and him having all of this young, stable, I mean, you got Higgins, Brian Thomas, and Adunze is sitting there at wide receiver. That is an awesome wide receiver room to build around. Now.
Especially knowing that Higgins is probably going to be a wide receiver 1 this year somewhere else.
Yes.
Or 2025.
And I'm sure we all like Adunze's prospects going forward in Chicago. So, and he's got Ladd McConkey there too.
Yep.
So,
yep.
All right.
Yeah, I like this trade from top to bottom for both teams. I think it's a great move for both. And it's not like we get to say that very often. You see it more in Dynasty, where you see equal trades where both teams advantage or profit from the deal. But That's a really good deal for both teams. I like that a lot. So
you can see here how sometimes a simple deal, a 1-for-1 here, can really help out both sides. And when both teams are willing to work together, can make it happen for both sides here. All right, let's get into the next deal here. So we've got a couple of deals that I'm just going to tell you about because I can't bring them up. They're not in the league that I'm in. They're from Steve S. and his league that's in his second year. And this one had Foss and Jackson involved with dealing Justin Jefferson. So in this deal, Jackson got Justin Jefferson and Najee Harris. In return, Foss acquired Kenneth Walker, the 105 and 202. So the big fish here obviously is Jefferson. And what can you do with Justin Jefferson? So again, Matt, this deal is Justin Jefferson and Najee Harris. And on the other side, you're acquiring Kenneth Walker, 105 and the 202. Now, yesterday, I know we mentioned how right now isn't exactly the time that you need to make a big splash move. And right here, obviously, the big whale is Justin Jefferson. Now, you got Jefferson and Najee on one side, Kenneth Walker, 105 and 202 on the other side. I personally don't even think I would take this haul for Jefferson alone. So that's where I'm at, because I mean, trying to cross things off here, you could squint and see how Kenneth Walker and Najee Harris are kind of equal. They kind of fit that RB2, RB3 placeholder on your team, right? But I mean, personally, I like Kenneth Walker better, and he is more valued on the open market. Now, Najee Harris is a free agent. He could easily go sign somewhere like the LA Chargers, right, and be a monster there. But at the same time, value right now, Kenneth Walker is more valuable. And then you're getting the 105 and 202 for Justin Jefferson. Like, dude, you gotta tack on at least a first to that, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a bad deal. It's a bad deal. Whoever's getting Jefferson and Najee for this price tag, winner, chicken, fucking dinner, dude. I don't like to cuss off on the show.
No,
my God, this one's bad. This is bad.
Yeah, this is just a classic example of somebody trying to make a move just to trade.
Yeah, right. I'm on that train where I look at Najee and Kenneth Walker very closely. I put them
sure.
Maybe Walker's at the top of the tier and Najee's at the bottom of the tier, but they're in the same freaking tier.
Sure.
And so for me, I take those two components out and I look at, what is it, the 105 and 202?
105 and 202, yeah.
105 and 202 for JJ. Oh my God. I own Jordan. I own Jefferson in a dynasty league, and no way on God's green earth would I ever let him go for that price tag. No way ever. You're giving me 3 firsts. That will get it done. 3.
The only way I would do this is if that 105 was moved up to the 101. If you make that the 101, all right. Then we're at least, you could bring that to the table. Okay. You put the 101.
Man, that's so tough, dude. That's so tough.
I would need that. Honestly, I would need that 202 to be the 101. So you're giving me the 101, 105, and Kenneth Walker.
Now
then we're talking something.
Then we're talking.
Legit.
Yeah. Then that gets it much more in line. Much more in line. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you're giving up an asset like Justin Jefferson, who, I mean, to me, for whatever your money's worth is here, he's still the best receiver in the game. You might see Jamar Chase ranked ahead of him on Keep Trade Cut right now, but dude, all 5 of those top elite receivers, you could pretty much interchange them however you want. You could see, I know CeeDee Lamb's down at the bottom right now of that elite top 5 receiver tier. You throw Amon-Ra into the mix there, and Puka probably as well there. So those 5 receivers I see as the elite top 5. Okay. Nico maybe just outside of it. I love Nico, so it's hard for me to say that, but he's maybe just a hair outside of that tier. And then Brian Thomas has moved himself right up into that mix as well. And Neighbors is the one I was missing. I knew I was missing somebody. Neighbors is in that tier too. So you could say a top 6 elite.
Well, here's
tier.
the thing though, too. You could probably, and what you mentioned CeeDee Lamb, because bottom of the tier now, you can probably get CeeDee Lamb a lot cheaper than you normally would in comparison to some of those guys who are at the top of the next tier. You're probably gonna have to pay up for those guys because they're coming off their rookie year, or they're younger, whatever it may be. But you could probably get CeeDee Lamb at a good cost this point of the season based on this. What have you done for me lately? Yep.
That's why I had CeeDee as a top buy in my last show Tuesday night. So, CeeDee's just a guy that we all know could finish as the wide receiver 1 any given season with a healthy Dak Prescott, with an offense that, yes, it's a new head coach, but he's coming from within the organization and he's just moved up. They're pretty much going to run the same offense that McCarthy was running. Now, you could say Ashton Genty gets drafted there. They're going to run more. I don't know about that. I mean, Dallas is in a division with Philly and Washington now being the powerhouses. I don't see Dallas being any better than an 8-9, 9-8 type team. So they're going to be trailing. Maybe they won't be trailing as poorly as they were this last season. There were games, dude, where CeeDee was sitting on the sideline in the 4th quarter because they were down by so much that they didn't even want him out there. Most games, you're losing in the second half. You're still having your studs out there trying to come back, like the 49ers game last year. If you remember that on Sunday night, CeeDee had an awesome second half. But you go into
when Dallas was still in the playoff mix, the CeeDee was playing and still putting up numbers, but when they were out, they were out.
Dude, there was the Eagles game where they got destroyed. There was the Lions game where they got absolutely run out of the building. And then the last 2 games of the season, he had the shoulder issue and they just sat him. I bet if they were in contention, CeeDee would have played in those 2 games. So that's why I agree. CeeDee's the guy to go after, but if you can get Justin Jefferson for this price, by all means.
Oh my gosh, that's
all right. So Steve S sent me one more deal from that league, and this one is going back to the quarterback pool in Trevor Lawrence, who just got new head coach Liam Cohen from Tampa, and this one had Xander getting Trevor Lawrence in return for Michael Pittman and the 205. So I know Lawrence had definitely a down season this last year, but I had Trevor Lawrence as one of my buys, one of my top targets in the show I did Tuesday night. And so this is the ideal way to go out and get Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you're giving up Michael Pittman, who some players just have somehow, some way they just get a stink on them, right? Like Chuba Hubbard kind of has that. Even as great as he played last season, he's still just that community perception isn't like, there's no way anybody was going to pump Chuba Hubbard into the top, I don't know, 8 or 9 running backs dynasty.
He's not sexy at all.
No, exactly. And that's what's happened with Michael Pittman right now. Great route runner, great real life receiver, right? But then you attach him to a guy like Anthony Richardson, who's just not a volume passer. They just don't match up, right? And so now you can catch lightning in a bottle. Like, Justin Jefferson wasn't exactly a great passer, but he was able to hyper target DJ Moore 2 years ago. So DJ Moore benefited from that. But Anthony Richardson isn't quite at that level yet. Could
Justin
be.
Fields, you mean?
I was talking about Fields in Chicago, yes. But now Anthony Richardson in Indy,
right.
he's not quite there as a passer yet. Could he get there? Sure. He's working with Josh Allen's old coach training this offseason now, I've heard. So that could definitely help him. So at least we know he's willing to work on it. So that's good. He definitely performed better the second half of the season last year when they all of a sudden did a switcheroo on us after saying that Flacco was going to play the rest of the year. Then Flacco sucked. So they put AR back in there, and AR came out and he played well. So I think the narrative on Richardson's looking a little better. But for Pittman, I don't know. I mean, Josh Downs kind of seems like the better fit with AR there. And then you got Alec Pierce going deep. Like, I don't know. I am not buying Pittman with giving up Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of look at Pittman as he's a volume receiver. So I kind of place him in that, like, I look at him like Julian Edelman. Okay. I need volume to get points out of Pittman. And in that offense, even if Anthony Richardson's throwing the ball 30 times a game, Anthony Richardson likes to throw big balls. He's not throwing a ton of the dumps, which is where Pittman gets paid, right? He gets paid in the high target volume and a lot of those dumps and then his yards after catch. And in that offense, I don't see it happen. The other thing with Pittman that I don't like is his injury history. Seems to always get hurt. He always misses time. And the size that he is, he should be more of a red zone target, and he's not. So, like you, I've been out of the Michael Pittman business from the moment he came into the league. I've never been high on Pittman. I never will be. He needs high passing volume. He needs to be in or on a team that's throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game.
He needs a Kirk Cousins as his quarterback. That's what he needs. Yeah. Yeah, I had Pittman on one team last year, and I got out of him right away after week 1. Somehow I was able to finagle a future first for him, and I am more than happy with the way that's turned out. Could things get better for him? Absolutely. Pittman could get traded, right? He's got a big contract. Right. They don't necessarily need him, right? I think there's a team out there that could absolutely use his skill set better. And so for Michael Pittman's sake, I actually hope the guy does get traded. But we'll see. I mean, Indy's got a lot of talent there at wide receiver. And, hopefully AR is able to figure it out and make it work. But just from the outside looking in, Pittman doesn't seem like a bad dude. So he's not a diva wide receiver by any means. And so he's a very hard worker. He looks like, great route runner. But yeah, just situationally, it's just not a great fit here. And I would not give up the potential that T-Law now has with a Liam Cohen offense coming in there. Brian Thomas, Christian Kirk, Evan Engram, good receiving running back. I mean, the talent is just overflowing there in Jacksonville.
You know where Pittman, I think, could really take off? Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. If they don't re-sign Higgins, they could go get Pittman.
Perfect.
And he'd be a great fit for Joe Burrow.
Possession guy. Burrow's going to pepper everything out there.
Oh, yeah.
No,
him and Chase.
To a guy. So it's.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Chase that's constantly going to push the depth and the coverage. I mean, it would open him up a lot. And then being he's got a good catch radius. He's got great hands, catches with his hands. I like that. He's a good receiver. I'm just not high on him based on where he is. If he goes to Cincinnati, I would buy more Michael Pittman than I would ever have imagined myself buying. So I think that would be an ideal.
Oh, he would be a hot target for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now we're going to switch things up to the running back position. And I'm just going to. All right, here we go. Okay, let's start off with the running back of the moment. That's right, Saquon Barkley. Bring up some of the deals if you're actually looking go out there and acquire Saquon Barkley right now. This is the kind of deals that you've got to get yourself involved in. All right. So let's start off with, man, this first deal is just ridiculous. I don't even want to talk about that with Jaden Daniels. This other one here is interesting. So it's a 12-team start 11, 0.75 tight end premium. Saquon Barkley and a random 26 first for Patrick Mahomes. Oof. I don't know. I'm almost leaning the Saquon. Assuming you've got your quarterback room, okay. And if you're trading Patrick Mahomes, you better.
Even if your quarterback room's not straight, I'm taking that deal. A 26 first in Saquon for good real life quarterback versus quarterback 2 for fantasy all day. All day. Don't care if it's super flex. I'll take Saquon and a 26 first for Patrick Mahomes all day.
Okay, so maybe
that deal before this year.
How about if we substitute somebody for Patrick Mahomes there? Okay. I know the disdain you have for the man.
It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with production, man. And he's not a top quarterback in production for fantasy. Right.
How about you substitute Mahomes for Herbert?
Done.
Still not doing it. Still taking Barkley in the first.
Saquon in the first all day.
All right. All right. Let's look at another one here. We've got, well, we just talked about CeeDee. This one's really interesting here. So you got CeeDee Lamb for Saquon. CeeDee side gets the 210 thrown in, which, with these two high-profile players, I don't know that really matters much. That one's a 12-team start 10. So, yeah, a late second isn't that it's not terrible in a 0.75 tight end premium in a deep tight end class. You could grab a decent tight end there. But I don't know. I'm leaning the CeeDee side on that one.
Man, that's tough. That's so tough.
You're buying low and selling high.
Because I just feel like if that was a higher second, I'd be much more comfortable with it. Say like a mid to early-ish, like 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
I could get behind that a little bit more, but 210 is a little deep for me. So I would say I would still stick with Barkley in that one.
This is one that you've got to see the teams really. I mean, in a deal like this, you got to think that this is a win-win situation for both squads. Like the Saquon owner probably has his running back room pretty well set, where he's getting rid of Saquon and helping out his wide receiver room and vice versa for the other team. So now here we go. Here's a couple of nice ones on the bottom. So we've got Tank Bigsby, the 106 and 206 for Saquon in a 12-team start 10 half-point tight end premium. I'm going to lean. 12-team start 10. I'm going to lean Saquon on that one. The 106 is a nice pick.
It is, but it's not a guarantee to get one of the top 3 backs.
Yeah, I'd want the, if you're able to move up from that 106 to the top 3 or 4, where you could get a Caleb Johnson or Omarion Hampton, where you can guarantee me you're getting that, then I like it a lot more, because straight up Omarion Hampton or Caleb Johnson right now for Saquon, I don't know that I'm doing that, but it's close. It's close, I'll say. I'll still take Saquon over either of those two straight up, but you're throwing in Bigsby in the 206 that'll even it out, I guess.
That's a tough one, man. That's a really tough one. Until Jacksonville trades one of the backs, that's a tough one. I'd still lean Saquon here. The 106, like you said, is not a guarantee. The 206 is in the middle. Could still get a nice grab with both of those picks. That's wonderful. But Tank, as long as ETN is there, it never gets to be what he.
That's the interesting thing you bring up, Tank, right there, because I see Tank Bigsby as a similar skill set to Bucky Irving whereas ETN is more so like Rachaad White, but ETN is better than Rachaad White. Okay, don't get me wrong there. But Tank is a good running back, like vision-wise. There was a reason that Tank got all that work last year during the middle of the season, and ETN got less work because Tank was running pretty well there for a period. And so I think his vision is better than ETN's. And so you could see more of a split than you think there, even with a healthy.
But Jacksonville just got new coaching.
Exactly.
They didn't draft Tank. They don't see the same things that Doug Marrone sees. So
true. There's
a lot of what ifs surrounding Jacksonville right now, especially on their running backs, because you don't know who's going where, if they're going to be on this. I lean Saquon here, even with those two lovely little picks right there. I still lean Saquon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one. We were talking James Cook before the show, and here's one. We got Saquon in the 303 going for James Cook and a random 26 first. Ooh. So James Cook is what, 24 years old, I want to say, somewhere around there. 24, and you got a 27-year-old Saquon going into year 28 next season. Oh, this is a tough. I'll
lead with this one. You're thinking on. I'm gonna lead with this one. Number one, James Cook's replacement is in the building. Okay, he's in the building in Buffalo. Or I say replacement, someone who could replace carries for him. Okay, Saquon Barkley. Who's the guy that takes over if he goes down? Will
Shipley. He dominated this fourth quarter.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm still taking Saquon in this deal. You get a 25 third, which it's not horrible. It's this year, so you get immediate compensation. Plus Saquon. You're giving up James Cook, who, and you and I have discussed this, he scored 19 touchdowns last year. 19 touchdowns on the ground. On the ground. I didn't even look at his pass or his receiving touchdowns. Might throw in a couple more. So is that repeatable? Probably not. Probably not in what could be more of a split backfield next year. I love whoever's getting Saquon here with the 25-303. James Cook is still, you're still getting a good running back and you get a future first. That's wonderful. I like Saquon in the third. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if Saquon repeats the top 5 season again next year, then you still got to. Even if Saquon really regresses a lot.
If he goes top 10 and only misses a game or two, it's a better deal. James Cook ain't scored 19 touchdowns, dude. I own him in a league. I'm not. When you pointed that out to me, and the fact that I'm thinking now that I didn't even count the rushing or the receiving touchdowns, I just don't find that repeatable. No.
Now you get a little more flexibility with that 26 first. It depends on how active your league is and what you're able to actually do with that. Because going into next season, you're able to. You're taking Saquon out of your lineup. You're able to plug James Cook in there. Now you're not getting as many points quite closely, but again, Cook had a monster season himself.
Right.
All right. And then, mid-season next year, what are you able to use that 26 first for? Mm-hmm. That could be nice. But again, man, you're probably giving up 5 points a game between Saquon and Cook. So I don't know. In a start, it's only a start 10. If this was a little deeper, start 11 or 12, best ball type, then I would kind of see more. Then I might. That's where you could get me to lean the Cook and first side. I don't know. If I got Saquon, I'm wanting more. So we've got a deal right above that's interesting here. This one's got more pieces in it. This one takes a little bit more, and this one depends how much you like the class. Now I'm liking buying these picks right now because this is the time to do it, to buy these picks. But you got one side giving up. Okay, now that I look though, it's a 12-team start 8 only, start 8. So that's kind of shallow. And when you give up Saquon, you're giving up Saquon, DJ Moore in the 212. In return, getting Jaden Reed, Jalen Wright, 107, 109, and 110. This initially I liked it, but then when I saw the start 8, that killed me. I would have stuck with Saquon. I'm going to stay with Saquon. You got DJ Moore, who's probably your first wide receiver off the bench in a start 8, maybe a starter. I don't know, but you got to have hammers. You got to have elite players in a start 8. You're not getting it with Jaden Reed or Jalen Wright. The 107, maybe starts for you. All those in a start 8, 107, 109, 110 are borderline starters.
So at face value, based on the league setup, I don't know what these teams look like. I like the Saquon side of the deal. That being said, he's got 3 first-rounders this year to deal off as he gets closer to draft day. I mean,
are you able to package all 3 of those up to get Ashton
Jaden Reed for like CD Lamb? You couldn't trade a couple of. I don't even know what his first rounder is that he owns, right? But
right.
You couldn't trade a couple of those picks and get you CD Lamb, and then you still have a pick in the first. So I get it. Normally, I look at just these trades face value, but with that many firsts in this year, not including his own, let's just say for fun, he's got the 104 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would imagine he's got a higher pick than what we see there. And that gives him some flex. I don't know. That's a lot of first round this year in a 3-month window that is going to significantly increase in value. It's actually, man, it might actually work in his favor if he deals those.
Yeah, if it's an active league and he's able to, and you, like you said, if he's got the 103, 104, 105 as his own pick, and he can finagle his way up to assuring himself to get Hampton or Caleb Johnson, or especially Genty, if he could get up to that. Right. If you could get up to Genty, then I'm liking it a lot more because, you can make Jaden Reed and Jalen Wright equal for DJ Moore if you want. I prefer the DJ Moore side there, but I don't even know that DJ Moore is a starter in a start 8 league. A start 8 league, I mean, you're only starting the top 20, 25 wide receivers, which DJ Moore is on the back end of that. So yeah, I guess, I mean, if you're in a total rebuild, but I can't imagine a team that had Saquon Barkley and DJ Moore was rebuilding last year. You got to figure that was a contender.
Maybe it's someone who won, who knows that, or who was right there in the top 3, who knows they need to get younger now because they're too old. The other thing, like you said, DJ Moore may not even be a starting receiver in this league. So if you take him out along with Jaden Reed and Jalen Wright, you're getting the 107, 109, 110 for Saquon and the 212.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I can see both sides.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Not bad. All right, let's move on to another vet running back here. Yeah, there we go. Let's go. I want to try some Derrick Henry. Let's see if I can actually navigate this board. Okay. go. There we go. All right. Let's see where what a lesser costing veteran running back is going for right now. Here we go. Here's some deals for Derrick Henry. All right. So Henry coming off a monster 1,900-yard season, tons of touchdowns. And so very interesting offseason here for Derrick Henry, who, for all things considered, we can pretty much expect the same out of him next year. Stats wise, I don't know. He'll be a year older, but dude, the guy is a horse. I mean, nobody trains like him. He's not going to retire until he wants to. Okay. But here we go. We've got in a 8-team start 11. So it's still pretty shallow. You've got Derrick Henry, Stephon Diggs for Najee, Roshan Johnson, the 205 and a 27 first. I'm going to lean Derrick Henry on that one. Just because I think Derrick Henry could probably play just as long as Najee Harris does. And I'm going to take that production now. 27 first is still 2 years out. I'm willing to do that in an 8-team start 11. Again, it gets to the format like that's shallow. That's only 88 starters each week. I mean, you need the hammer guys, and you're not getting that on the other side there. Najee Harris is not a starter. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. That's a silly trade. Let's move on to the next one.
All right, let's go over to the okay, this one's a little more interesting. We've got a 12-team, go just to the right. It's a 2-quarterback, 12-team start 10, full point tight end premium. Now, there isn't a tight end in this trade, but you've got Derrick Henry, Mike Evans, and Russell Wilson going for Marv, the 108 and 205. That seems a little steep.
It does, but man, whoever is getting Harrison, the 108 and the 205, I mean, I don't even know. I don't know what picks are held by both players, but if they hold anything under the 108 and then now they add the 108, the 205, and Marvin Harrison, I like that spot a lot.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, Mike Evans, I don't know if he's putting up another 1,000-yard season. Russell Wilson, we don't even know if he's going to sign with Pittsburgh. And if he doesn't, where does he go? Derrick Henry is the only piece I know that will probably put up points for me next year. So, yeah, I like the Marvin Harrison side of this deal. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, trying to cross things out, like what, Mike Evans and Russell Wilson for the 108, I guess you could say, but then you've got Marv and the 205 for Derrick Henry. I'm going to take Marv.
Yeah,
you got to go that side. All right, let's go below. The next one
about Derrick Henry, right? When he first got to Alabama.
What about him?
When he first got to Alabama?
Yeah.
Like he didn't know anything. And when he started doing stuff, Saban pulled him aside and he's like, look, man, all I used to do in high school was they would hand me the ball and tell me to go. That's it. I don't know any of all this other shit. I don't know any of it. So please be patient with me. That's all he did in high school, man.
Well, when you set the national record, I mean, the dude had what, like 1,200 carries in his high school career. I mean, he ran for like 10,000 yards in high school.
Yeah.
All right. How about the deal right below it? This one seems interesting. 12-team start 10. We've got Achane and a 26 first on one side, Tyreek, Josh Jacobs, and Henry on the other side. All right. So this one is very close because, I mean, Josh Jacobs was pretty solid this year. Tyreek, I'm not overly excited about. I mean, he struggled this season, and who knows where he ends up next year. It's kind of a flip-flop as to whether he wants out the door or not there in Miami. But so I could see Jacobs and the 26 first crossing themselves out, and then Henry and Tyreek for Achane. That's pretty even.
All right, so I'm going to take a shot here and say the team that is receiving Henry, Jacobs, and Hill is in position to win now.
Yeah,
okay?
They absolutely have to be. Yeah.
So I'm going to take their side of the deal here because they got a ton of points that can help them win now. Even if Tyreek Hill's not in Miami next year, I don't care. Josh Jacobs and Henry make this deal worth it. Because if this team's competing next year, how good is that 26 first? Probably not all that great. You're looking at like a 110 to 112 pick here in a 12-team league, and Devin Achane for Tyreek Hill and Josh Jacobs Henry. Josh Jacobs got a couple more years in the tank. Henry's got at least one more. Tyreek Hill's going to be somewhere next year and put up points because he's Tyreek Hill, as long as he's healthy.
I don't mind the flexibility.
Worth the crap. So I would take the player side of this deal, or the veteran side of this deal.
Yeah, I don't mind the flexibility on the other side though either, because look, if a dude just gave up Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, and Tyreek Hill, he probably did pretty well last year. I mean, Tyreek didn't, but Jacobs and Henry definitely did. Yeah. And so he probably did pretty well this last year. Now he's trying to get younger, which he did. And now he can kind of play probably a middling type team and see how the season's going and potentially use that 26 first in a deal to acquire a running back or wide receiver. So I don't mind the flexibility side of it, but yeah, if you're contending in a start 10, all three of these dudes are starters. Okay. And I mean, yeah, the only way he gets burned is if Tyreek is trash and one of Jacobs or Henry goes down with an injury this last year, because you could even take Tyreek out of this deal and Achane and a 26 first for Jacobs and Henry isn't a terrible deal. So yeah, he's kind of getting Tyreek thrown in as a piece. And so yeah, I'll lean that side. It's tough for me to go away from the pick side at this point in the season, in the off season, but yeah, I lean with you on that. All right, let's see one more here. The
only one that I see that's still worth it to talk about is that Bucky Irving, Chase Brown for Henry and Nakua.
Yeah, that one's interesting there with the value of Bucky spiking this off season now. And Chase Brown. Like Bucky is spiked. I didn't look at Keep Trade Cup before we came on, but he was like running back 6 the last time I looked. Wow. Now I love me some Bucky, but man, that seems rich. And now of course you're gonna have a couple of rookies coming in. You got Genty's probably gonna come in right away out the gate. He's gonna be ranked higher. And I think Omarion Hampton and Caleb Johnson will probably be even right there with Bucky. But anyway, Bucky and Chase Brown for Henry and Puka. Man, Puka is the top player in the deal. Are the second and third best players Bucky and Chase Brown here? Or, I mean, because Chase Brown, what does he have guaranteed?
I mean, if you look at his numbers when he was the lead running back, you can't argue with what Cincinnati did at the end of the season. Once Zach Moss was off the table and it was Chase Brown, the Bengals had a winning record. So I love Chase Brown. I love Bucky Irving. Derrick Henry, we know, has a year. Puka is interesting, right? We missed, 8-9 weeks this year. Had the bust-out rookie season, misses 8-9 weeks this year. But here's the linchpin with Puka with his current setup. Quarterback play, okay? Stafford said he wants to come back next year. under current cap stuff, that's not going to work great. So they're going to have to rearrange something. But after next year, who's his quarterback?
Yeah. I don't know. As long as Sean McVay is there.
I know Baker Mayfield is not in a hurry to leave Tampa Bay. I'll just say this much. I look at this deal. I will lean Bucky Irving and Chase Brown on this one, even though I'm more of a wide receiver guy, just because those two guys have a combined 3 years of experience. So they're super young on that side, right? Henry's got I guess it just depends on what you want. I love the Irving Chase Brown side of this deal based on what I just know. I would rather have those two guys than Puka and Derrick Henry. I'm not saying this is a fair trade, but who I want for the future, I want Irving and Brown.
Yeah, I see the youth argument side of this, but man, I am taking the Puka.
Go ahead.
Out there.
I think Puka's an absolute stud, but
I just don't love
Puka
the very. I don't see Chase Brown being Joe Mixon yet. Okay, I'm not there yet.
Oh, he's
Chase
way
Brown,
better than
as in his skill set is better than Joe Mixon, but I don't buy that the Bengals buy into Chase Brown as their RB1 for the next 3-4. That wasn't a salute there. For the next 3 straight seasons, we'll say, or until his rookie contract is out. I don't know that the Bengals, so they had still, Zach Moss is still there. They could draft somebody if they don't buy into Zach Moss coming back healthy. They could easily draft. I love Chase Brown, especially on the squads I've got him. I know he was awesome, but I'm going to take the production of Henry, and Puka is just Puka as an asset there is just too much for me to pass up. I know the argument that Stafford may not be there in 2 years, but I'm not so worried about that right now. I know what Puka's going to do this next year, and I'll take that. And we'll see where it goes. Because I think as long as Sean McVay is there, no matter who comes in, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo played well last year when he had to come in for Stafford for a week there. Who knows who's there in 2026 right now. I'm not too worried about that, I guess. All right, let's go. We got what's up?
Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree on this one. There's no shame in that at all. All right. What fun would it be if we just agreed on every trade? What would be the point? What do I need you for then, Matt?
I don't know. I really don't know.
All right, here we go. The big elephant in the room, Christian McCaffrey. So you're going to find this. I don't know if there's another more polarizing vet out there right now as far as Christian McCaffrey goes. What the dude does on the field when healthy, 20 plus points, almost guaranteed, is so hard to replace or replicate right now. When you have an elite level talent, a Hall of Fame level talent. I'm not saying that McCaffrey's going to the Hall yet. He's definitely got to stay healthy in order for that to happen. But here we go. Let's see what he's going for right now. This first one that's just a bunch of picks. Let's see some. Okay, here's one down here, bottom left.
Holy cow.
It's start 8. But that'd be tough for me to pass on the right side. Bijan Robinson for McCaffrey, Achane, 204 and 306. So the 204 and 306 in a start 8 aren't much, but the
204 could be something, right?
Could be.
If you find your next tight end, that 204, or maybe you find the sleeper running back of the class, whatever it may be.
Maybe.
The 204
Maybe,
is
but
valued, but McCaffrey, A-Chain, and the 204 for Bijan, dude.
Yeah.
If McCaffrey comes back and gives you 12 games,
right?
and you got A-Chain there, dude, I take
yeah,
that deal.
I'm
give up
leaning
Bijan for that haul.
I love Bijan, and I love Bijan, man. But any given week, H-An can outscore Bijan. And that's even with H-An if he doesn't quite produce in the receiving department as well as he did last year. I mean, how many catches did H-An end up with? The dude was catching 7 or 8 passes in his sleep last year. And it was sickening. I mean, his yards per carry was down. But man,
but his targets and receptions per game were way up.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm gonna lean that side. All right. What do we
Christian
got?
McCaffrey for Chris Olave. What the hell is that? Oh,
I'll
God.
take CMC. I'll take CMC there.
Yeah.
What do we got in the top right here?
Look at this one.
This one's a lot of players.
Christian McCaffrey, Darnell Mooney for Justin Herbert and Najee Harris. Oh my gosh. Has McCaffrey's value plummeted that far?
Yeah.
Wow. I'd do that deal too. I'd rather have McCarthy, McCaffrey, and Mooney. I'd rather have the 3 M's than the 2 H's. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on your CMC owner in your league. Because at value right now in the market, you're looking at keep trade cut. And it's not the Bible, but yeah, he's at a late first. Late first. 4,400, I think.
Wow.
Yep. You've got Dak right behind him and DJ Moore just ahead of him.
Oh.
So even with Najee being able to go somewhere next year and Herbert obviously being established, I'm going to take the chance. I mean, the risk is worth the reward, I think, on the left hand side.
Absolutely.
Because McCarthy with those weapons in Minnesota, he could outscore Herbert next year. And yeah, I'm going to take the risk on McCaffrey over Najee, and we're not even including Mooney, who he's a flexible asset, at least not if not your top receiver off your bench. So
he's a guy that you can get thrown into deals that you'll thank yourself for later.
Exactly.
Like a Marvin Mims or something, right?
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this up. That was quite an interesting exercise on those veteran running backs and what they're going for right now. So I think that, as you pointed out with McCaffrey, man, some leagues, it's definitely worth asking for. It cannot hurt to go out there and ask for McCaffrey. I think Henry's value is, even though Keep Trade Cut has him pretty much even, I think Henry's value is perceived much higher, and that's probably expected considering he had 1,900 yards and McCaffrey did he even get to 500. So use that to your advantage. It shows that the market is what have you done for me lately type market, and it's a long off season. McCaffrey's value is just gonna continue to climb as he cannot get hurt anymore for the next 7 months. So that narrative is slowly going to, it's slowly going to fade away. And come August, preseason games are there. I'm sure he won't play at all in the preseason, but as long as he's looking healthy and no more tendonitis in those Achilles, I think, I'm leaning on a lot of those McCaffrey deals. I'm excited, especially with all the hype on these rookies these rookie running backs, man, it's tough for me to pass on McCaffrey because dude can play 2 or 3 more years still.
Good.
I'm just saying.
Could if he stays healthy. He absolutely could. San Francisco is going to be a fun team to watch in the offseason with all the talent they do have, with all the injuries they have. What's going to happen as we kind of approach the cap in the draft and addressing all those questions? San Francisco could have a lot of players moving around. So,
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, check us out on the Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Check out my rookie rankings there for your upcoming drafts. And you can ask me any question on buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Thanks for joining me and Matt today in the show, and never stop working.